All right, so I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name's Elizabeth Gardner. I am a customer success manager here at ActivePipe. And today we are going to be talking through building out a newsletter together. And I want to show you really how simple it can be if you want it to be. And so I have prepped just a couple of things in advance, but for the most part, what we're going to be doing is going to be live together. And so you'll see what I can put together within the next 30 minutes or so. If you have questions, feel free to put them into the chat or into the Q&A, whichever one works. It's fine with me. And I'll try to answer those as we go as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So to start my newsletter, I am going to navigate into my emails tab, and in my top right-hand corner, I'm going to use my create email button. Some of you very well may have a newsletter template in your account, or potentially even better, you might also have a second tab over here on the left side of your screen that says shared emails. And if you click into there, you might find that your brokerage has already created a newsletter for you that you can kind of take and then tweak to make your own if you wanted to. So if you have a shared emails tab over there, make sure to check that out and see what your brokerage is creating for you. Because we don't want to reinvent the wheel if we don't have to. But for today's purposes, I'm actually going to start really from the bottom, from complete scratch, and I am going to use one of our Canvas templates to get started. So I'll click on that, and then I have to name this. As a reminder, the name is internal only. It is not the subject line, so make it whatever you need to make it to make sense to you, because you're the only one who's going to see those email names. All right, so kind of a basic format of what a newsletter might look like. Most folks tend to start with something like a banner image, right? And so I'm going to drag in a one image panel at the top to get myself started. And then I think I'm going to leave this one column text panel because I think I'll write a little brief message in there. And then probably after that, I am going to do some articles. So I will drag in a smart feed panel. I'll also show you for your own benefit how if a article is not RSS enabled, meaning it won't pull in as a smart feed article, I'll show you how you can manually do it with a one-by-one text and image panel as well and kind of mimic the appearance of those. And then after that, maybe I'll pull in a little market insights panel. And then I might top it off with a featured property. So I just drug in my panels to get myself started with my structure here. So as a reminder, I drug in my one image. This is a one column text. Then I have some smart feed panels, a one-by-one text and image. We have a statistics panel and then a feature property. So to get started, I'm going to add in my banner image. Now, I created this on Canva in about 2 minutes before this webinar. Actually, I've already downloaded it, so the steps to add that image are clicking on this blue camera icon. And then if you haven't previously uploaded it, you're going to use this upload image button. Select the image. And once it's uploaded, you'll see it here. And then you can click on it and it will be pulled right into your email. Now, you probably noticed that this is pretty cool because we have some movement going on here. And this is becoming more and more common, I'm seeing too, in banner images. So this is just a GIF or a .gif. Some folks might also call it a GIF. It's all the same thing. It's just a way in which your image is saved. So kind of like if you know of a PNG or a JPEG, a GIF is just like that. But the cool thing about GIFs is that it's actually technically a series of images that automatically play. And so it looks almost like a video. And so, yeah, I made this in Canva, like I said, and I wanted it to have a little bit of eye-catching pizzazz. And so I added that little animation in there as well. All right, and then in my little one column text message below, I might say something like, Let's see, I'm based in Austin, and so you'll notice some of the examples I'm going to use and this image are of Austin. So maybe for my message, I'll come up with something quick here. Mm, record-breaking sales. See record-breaking sales, and maybe if you've had a recent accomplishment in your past month, like I have seen from some other folks, you might highlight that here too. So this is my fake brokerage, Newtown Realty. Oops. Oh man, I cannot type. And you might continue to say something more here, but for all our sakes, I'm just going to leave that there. But I think you get the point. You can make your little message there. Many of you will also have a signature block down in the bottom here, where it will probably look something like this, where your headshot image is going to be, oops, that's not what I wanted. Your headshot will be over there on the left, and then you might have like your title on the right here. So it might be, let's see, I'll just pop something in here so you can kind of get a visual. I'm using placeholders because you likely would see placeholders here as well. So I kind of wanted to make it look like you'll see. Email, and then probably a phone number. There we go. And then in yours, you will likely see something like this. Okay. Now, if I wrote a personalized message at the top of my newsletter, I might move my signature block that in your account is probably already pre-built. I might move it up to be right underneath that message to look like almost like it's signed by me is kind of the look. So if you want to move panels around, you can use this little icon on the far right of the green panel to do it, or you can just use these up and down arrows, whichever is easier for you. I tend to find the arrows to be easier, so that's what I'm doing. All right, and now my signature is directly below my intro message here. All right, now let's get into the more fun stuff. So I'm going to add a few articles to my newsletter because our newsletters are really content driven. And so I'm going to put my content at the top. Now with Smart Feed, if you haven't used this yet, there's a couple of different things to know. First of all, if you have a RSS enabled blog or article online, you can use that in Smart Feed. What RSS basically means is that it's just a particular format of how that business has their website formatted so that they're allowing you to pull articles from their site. If it is not RSS enabled, you just will not get the lovely little green check mark that I just got. You'll get a frowny face and it'll tell you, hey, this is not RSS enabled. So if you find an article that you really like that you want to include that's not RSS enabled, we'll take a look in a second how you could still add that in. So I might use something like this, highlighting some Austin architecture, local around me. And then let's add another. I found something like this. Let's see. All right, so here's an example of something being not RSS enabled. I pasted my link in here and then I got a little frowny face. So this article I would need to include manually, but that's okay. I can do that. So I'm going to show you how I would do that in this text and image panel right here. So first things first, you'll notice in my Smart Feed that I kind of get the article title and then I just get a quick little snippet of the first paragraph basically. So I'm going to do some good old fashioned copy and pasting here. And so I'm going to copy and paste that title. All right. And then to make the font match, I'm just going to highlight my font, and then I'm going to choose, I am going to guess that that's heading 3. Yes, it is. So to recap that, highlight it, and then this drop down here, the second one from the outside is your font options. So you'll use that. And then I'm just going to take the little summary of this article and copy and paste that in. That I'll leave as the paragraph because that's what matches up here. And then I need to add a button to match my read article. So I'm going to use what I call the button. It's the very center button here in my text and image panel. I'll use that. And then I'm going to need my URL. So I'm going to copy and paste my URL. And then I'm going to keep this as read article. All right, and I will need to pull this image. So let's see. It's not gonna let me do that, but that's okay. I will go the good old fashioned route here. All right, and then to upload that image, again, I'm coming back in here and just clicking upload image. And then for me, I'll find it in my recents. There it is. And I've selected it. Now, they're still not quite matching, right? My image is not quite the same size, and it looks like it's not quite the same ratio between my image and text. So what I'm gonna do is first I'm gonna crop my image to match this image size. So to do that, I'm gonna use this little pencil icon. And then I believe that one up there is gonna be a 4:3. So I'm gonna select 4:3, and then I will just crop this bad boy. There we go. We're getting closer. Now, the last thing here is that we need to change the division between the text and the image. So to do that, we use our little settings gear button here. And that is going to be the column split. So right now it's 50-50, but I have an inkling that I think it's going to be closer to 40-60 to match what the smart feed looks like. And yeah, that looks about right. Now we are getting somewhere here. So let's add in another article into my smart feed panel. And if you have the option down here at the bottom to add real estate content is the articles that are pre-written by ActivePipe. And they kind of, I'll show you in a minute, they kind of look like they're ghost written for you is basically the way I like to describe it. So it'll have your logo at the top, and then your contact information will be over here on the right side panel. This is the account I'm in right now, but in yours, it'll have your information there and your name. All right, so I'll go ahead and just select that. Now, of course, you could pull articles from local sources like I kind of did with this first and this third. You could pull articles and blogs if you are a part of a mega network. Most of those guys at this point have blogs, or your brokerage itself might even have a blog. So just take a look and see what is available to you. The last thing I'll point out too on this right side is that you may have some favorites in here or brand content. And so that's a really great place to start because that's stuff that your brokerage has set up as favorites for you. So take a look in there and see what you've got. All right, we're getting somewhere here. I have my 3 articles. And then let's take a look at this Market Insights panel now. So Market Insights is kind of like real estate content where you may or may not have it, but if you have it, I definitely think it would be great to include in something like a newsletter. So I'm going to show you how to use it. So I drug this in the beginning, and now when I click on it, there are these 4 little blue buttons in the bottom right-hand corner. And if I click on these, I can decide what metric I want to bring into this newsletter. So maybe I want the number of new listings that came on. And then after that, you have to choose the particular market area that you are interested in. So market areas are set up when you set up your ActivePipe account brokerage wide. And so you'll have in your local area, you'll have quite a handful, quite a handful of options. I think, yeah, this account is set to Minneapolis. So let's do maybe Bryn. That sounds cool. Okay. All right. And then maybe for my next, I will do sold listings and I'll do that same area. All right. And then maybe I will do list versus sold price. And you see here, I'm kind of just repeating the same steps, but I'm choosing different data points to include. And they just automatically pull in for me. All right. So I selected my 4 little stats there, and then maybe I want to put a header on this to divide it from my articles above. So I can drag and drop in a header, and I can say, if this is my August newsletter, I'll say August market update or updates. There we go. And now I have a little header to my stats. And then maybe I'll also put a header down here on my property. And perhaps you wanted to show off a recently sold property. So if so, then I'm just going to title it recently sold. And then as we've covered plenty of times in the past, to add a property into ActivePipe, it's really straightforward. All you have to do is click on the property panel. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, there's another icon. This time it looks like a little house. So if I click on that, I'm taken to my property feed. For many of you, this is going to be your entire MLS. For some of you, it may just be your own brokerage's listings. And then if I wanted to do a sold, let's see if I have any in here. I do. Excellent. All right, so I just toggled into sold. That is one thing to note, is that if you're looking for a sold property, by default, when you come in here, it's going to be set to current, and it'll be obvious because all of these are going to say current or active, if some of you might know it as active. But if I want to display a recently sold property, I got to flip over to sold. And then if this is the property I want, I'll select off that, and it automatically comes into ActivePipe. As a reminder, all of this is still editable. So if I wanted to add to this description, I could. I can just start typing at the end here and it goes in. Or if I wanted to shorten it, I can just delete a section as well. The other trick I'll show you here is you'll notice my beds and baths are pulling in, but the square footage is not. Now, if this is my listing and I know the square footage that it was, I could of course just type that in here. But the other thing I can do, I'll show you, is you have the option to hide that amenity as well. So you can use the settings icon again up top here, our little gear. And this last option, hide amenity icons when the value is 0 or not set. That is the box that you want to check. So I'll check that box and I will click continue. And now you'll see, because that square footage was unknown, that it came off. Now, the other thing that was in that panel was it was telling us what information is pulling in. So maybe I don't really need that headline. So I could just use my little X. And then if I click continue again, now that headline has come off my property. All right, so at this point, I have built in a banner, a brief message signed by me, a few little local articles or real estate content article as well, my market insights, and then my recently sold property. At this point, I could be done if I wanted to. This is a pretty solid combination. You've got a little bit of content, a little bit of market insights, and then you're also promoting your work, right? Some other ideas that I'll just throw out there, if you're looking for what you may want to include in your newsletters, is doing something, maybe including a testimonial, or potentially including, one of my favorite things that I've seen is something like a well wish is what I call it. And so what something like that might look like is for a testimonial, you might do something like, let's see, let's do a 1 column and we'll say, And then we might put our testimonial in here. I'm making it up as I go here, right? As an example. And then to make this look a little more crisp, I might bump up my text font, and maybe I would center this. And so you're just kind of highlighting your work, which is always a good idea. And then my reference to something like a well wish, I like this because it's always a good opportunity to kind of like share your story or share your client's story. And it also shows your clients that you're doing business. So for something like this, you typically, what this looks like is maybe you include an image of them and their new home, right? Something like this. And you say, and then you tell their little story, basically. So you might say something like, after searching for 2 months, they found their perfect home. Home in East Austin with a pool. Something fun, something cute. And then just a cute little, oops. Oh my goodness, my typing today. Okay. Something to that effect. So just testimonials or well wishes to your recent clients, something like that is a good way to show off that you're doing business. I just got a question asking again to recap how I got my banner to do this cool little movement. And the answer is that this is actually a GIF. It's not a video, it is a GIF or a .gif. So it's a file format of how you can save your image. I personally built this image in Canva. It took me about 30 seconds to do. I highly recommend Canva. If you're not like a wizard in Photoshop, they make it really easy and they give you the ability to do this type of animation really quickly. When you are doing that, you just have to be sure that once you've created it, you download it as a GIF. So you'll notice I have a couple in here. This is a personal favorite. But as long as you download it as a .gif, then you can upload it into ActivePipe and it will move. So that is a great way to kind of get some eyes to notice. All right. At this point, I would probably name this or give it a subject line. My fault. I've already named it. I need to give it a subject line. So I might say something like the Newtown Buzz, if that's what I've named this anyways, the Newtown Buzz August edition. And I can save this. Oops, I'm in an admin. I got to select my category. All right. Once I've saved, if I am in a user account, I would be able to send this out immediately if I wanted, or I could schedule it for later in the week if I wanted to do that as well. One tip that I've heard other folks use that I think is pretty cool is they just schedule it for the next day. And that way they have 24 hours for this to marinate in their mind. And if they think of anything else that they want to tweak or that they want to add, they have that little 24-hour period. So I kind of like that idea as kind of a little grace period for yourself. So I would definitely use that. The only other kind of ideas that I'll throw out there, a lot of folks will ask like, oh, well, what kind of content do I include in my newsletter? And I think there's a couple different options and I've kind of even demonstrated them here too. So local updates, of course, are always great about real estate, but people also are interested in lifestyle local updates, right? And so something like this that is like based on a local home that has like really unique architecture, something like that, where it's adjacent to real estate, I think is interesting. And then you might do something more straightforward that's educational about real estate, right? And then you also can do something, so this one is kind of falls into that first category where it's real estate focused and local. And then the other thing I would add is that plenty of people include just like local activities, like events that are happening, or highlight a new local business. And the reason why our folks are seeing success with that is real estate agents, you kind of occupy this very unique space as a business person, because you're not just selling your product, right? You're not just selling properties. You do, that's a part of what you do, but you also sell yourself and you're selling your brand, right? And part of that includes your story of why you do what you do and why you do what you do, where you do it, right? And so including local content and supporting local businesses or supporting local events, I think goes far in telling that story about why you do what you do, where you do. So that's kind of the thought process behind that. And then market data is always interesting. So whether you're including that via our own market reports, market insights tool in ActivePipe, or if you have your own and you're including it as a screenshot, that is good too. Especially right now where you have things pretty consistently in most places, like this little metric here, list versus sold, that is clearly demonstrating that your potential sellers are getting a lot of value right now. And so it's good to display that. And then definitely these last three things kind of are just highlighting the work that you're doing, right? Including a recent listing that you've had, any testimonials that you've recently gotten, or well wishes to your recent clients, I think are good ways to just demonstrate that you're staying current and up to date. The only other thing I can really think of that I might suggest is that especially under something like this, or maybe at the top, if it was in your message, including a call to action that, depending on kind of what your current setup is, or also what product you have in ActivePipe, you could do something like request a CMA or request a free home valuation or something like that, right? So if you're writing a message talking about how sellers really have a great opportunity right now, you want to arm them with that information. And then you say something to the effect of like, if you're interested in what the value of your home might be in today's market, reach out to me here. And you can include a button that either links to your own personal website potentially, or you could link it to your email address and they could send an email directly to you. Or if you are on our enterprise product, which is our highest product tier, you have the option of using landing pages. And one of the landing pages in there is, it's probably called something like a listing appointment request, but if you go and look at it, it's probably something closer to, like I was mentioning like a free evaluation or CMA. It's just labeled here as a listing appointment. So definitely consider doing something like that. All right, folks. Well, that is officially 30 minutes and I have built this out and talked plenty. I think if I wasn't talking, you would be able to finish this way faster than I did and explaining every little detail. So as a recap, I will give you just a couple of resources that you can always feel free to use. So the first is our knowledge base, and you can find our knowledge base at support.activepipe.com. We have articles in here about how to do almost anything and everything in ActivePipe. And so if you come in here and you just start typing in what you're looking to do, it is likely that a article and potentially also a video will, like in this example, we have both, will pop up below. Then the second resource you have is our chat, and you'll notice that the chat is here on my knowledge base web page, and then it's also here in the actual platform itself. And you can chat with our support team 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, and they are really smart and they tend to be pretty fast too. So definitely take advantage of that. And then the last resource you have, if you're stumped and you need a little bit of help, is you can also email our support team. So I'll pop that into the chat too, support@activepipe.com, and they will help you out there. I definitely recommend bookmarking our knowledge base, support.activepipe.com, and just having this in your bookmarks for later, if you ever need it. All right, folks. Well, I think that is it. And I haven't seen any other questions come into the chat. So with all that in mind, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you next week for next week's This Month at ActivePipe. Take care.